Good day, everyone. I am Christine, the moderator for this webinar on the topic of Clinical Trial System, TMF and eTMF, and FDA's recent draft guidance for electronic record signature. I would like to introduce our presenter for today, Caroline Triano. Caroline Triano has more than 40 years of experience in pharmaceutical, medical device, tobacco, and other FDA-regulated industries. I would now like to hand over the floor to the speaker. Over to you, Caroline.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm Carolyn Troiano, and we're going to be talking about the Clinical Trial Master File, TMF, and the Electronic Trial Master File, the eTMF. Thanks for joining. So we'll talk about the Clinical Trial Master File and the eTMF. We'll cover clinical trial essential files to collect them before, during, and after the trial begins, or after the trial is over, sorry. We'll cover GXP, or FDA-regulated systems, what we mean by that, validation maintenance, good documentation practice. We'll then get to 21 CFR Part 11 for electronic records and signatures, and the FDA's new draft guidance on that for clinical investigations. We'll also have some slides on FDA regulatory inspection. So what is the Trial Master File? It's basically the collection of all the documents, artifacts, any kind of data that you are collecting during the trial and after the trial that are related to human clinical trials. Now, a TMF may be paper-based or electronic in format. Now, in the European Union, the TMF reference model provides for standardization across industry. The goal was for all clinical trial stakeholders around the world to accept it. In 2013, the European Medicines Agency, the EMA, put together a draft guidance, and they recognized the importance and legal equivalence of the paper TMF and the eTMF, the electronic version. In the European Union, the TMF has to contain all clinical trial essential documents. Now, electronic trial master file, the eTMF. Now, you can accelerate clinical trials using an eTMF. So the eTMF provides ease and speed of access, exchange, and management of all the documents. So one key to success is using an enterprise content management system, an ECM. The effective eTMF model builds on certain foundational components, and document classification. That's so you can prepare the document for indexing. Now, stored documents have to be managed. Now, predefined quality control checking can be built into the eTMF system. Now, pre-configured document management reports can be generated from the eTMF. Document retrieval is very complex and powerful. Now, the Content Management Interoperability Services Specification, the CMIS. So let's look at the clinical trial essential files. Each document has a specific description. So the first phase is before the clinical trial begins. An insurance statement documenting that compensation will be given to subjects if there is a trial-related injury. Instructions for handling of investigational products and trial-related materials. Now the clinical trial is underway. A dated, documented approval or favorable opinion of the IRB, IEC, updates of medical laboratory technical procedures, tests, and any relevant communications other than just the site visits, any source documents. And then the final third area is after the clinical trial has been either terminated or completed. Completed subject identification code list, documenting completion of the trial. Examples of clinical trial-related systems. Think about all the stakeholders you have. Now, risk-based approach is important. The validation plan. Start with your requirements and system selection. System design and the configuration specification, if it's configurable functionality. IQ and OQ test packages, you can get them from vendors. You have a protocol for OQ and PQ, or I should say UAT, and also for IQ. And then a final validation summary report. Document retention. Now, Part 11. This is an interesting law. Again, this is to detect and prevent fraud. You want to make sure you build in quality and compliance. Now, you want to have features and functions. A lot of companies said, oh, buy my software. It's Audit Trail lets you detect fraud, segregation of duties. Now, backup and business continuity, change control, training, the ERES in clinical investigations, the FDA draft issued in March of 2023. The guidance applies to electronic systems and information technology services. The requirements apply to electronic records from real-world data sources. Electronic copies used to create, preserve, and archive electronic records. FDA noted electronic communication methods. They also recommend risk assessment methodology for COTS packages, commercial off-the-shelf, category 3. During inspection at a sponsor site, FDA is going to focus on, FDA doesn't provide any type of preliminary evaluation of a system. Now, FDA inspection and audit. So when you want to prepare for a regulatory inspection. Now, companies that are regulated have good reason to meet compliance guidelines. With a warning letter, that's an escalation from a 483 if you don't respond to it in the warning letter trend. Security and access, testing and validation, training and expertise, documentation, best practices, deficiencies, failure to record things contemporaneously, destroying original records. So that concludes the presentation. So that's a good way to check and make sure your systems are compliant.
Thank you, Caroline. That concludes the session for today. Thank you, everyone, for participating. You may all disconnect now and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great time.